And like within 2 weeks, I found myself like constructing rear chassis shock mounts on an F100, and like, and I like remember looking down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get paid to like build cool stuff.
That's right.
And create.
Yeah.
And that was like a pivotal thing. Yeah. And I still had my own struggles, but I was able to show up every day and feel purpose and worth, and build like functional badass machines. I had to have a crisis to really apply myself to investing in myself in a career.
Hey guys, welcome to High Octane Hustle. I'm Fastlane Jane.
And I'm Design Muse, and this is...
Morgan Clarke!
Yes.
I got to say it.
Yeah.
And it turned out so well.
Yeah.
It did.
I had to move a bit to get that out, but we're good.
It came up
Well,
perfectly.
where do we even start after that? I mean, I think the show's over.
That's it.
That's
Done.
it. It's done. Mic drop on that. Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Glad you're here today.
Absolutely.
Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Morgan Clarke.
What does Morgan Clarke do?
Not that. I'm I guess you could say a motorsports designer and fabricator. That's the primary thing. We specialize right now, and I say right now just because I don't think we're limited to doing off-road fabric. Don't tap on the table.
All those rules. Darn it.
They're minimal, but they're still thick. We do a lot of high-end off-road stuff, like pre-runners, trophy truck stuff, sealed cab, go-fast cars for the desert. And what we've pressed on is really implementing design into that stuff, and I think that's where my company and my brand falls in place, is pressing functional design into cars instead of just building them as a race car, or keeping things simple, or just doing things basic, and that's what I'm into right now. So I've had a huge background in design and art, and that's
The aesthetic aspect of it.
To an extent, yeah. And I always stand for the form follows function thing. That's been a big part, and it's not so much of creating something that doesn't work. It's figuring out the constraints of what the particular project needs to have to work and function at its best, and then twisting the stuff
Yes.
Good.
out of that
Well
thing.
done.
Sculpting it.
Yeah, just
Like an
putting
artiste.
design into
Yeah.
it, and that's part of my history. And I want to put my hands somewhere here. Let's try that.
We can all hold hands.
We can give you a Sharpie.
Kumbaya.
Do you need a
so you
Sharpie?
can twist them up. And, a Sharpie, I'd be clicking. I went to Art Center College of Design for transportation design in Pasadena. I was going to go for a bachelor's of science for transportation design, and I dropped out halfway through. It was my dream. I started drawing cars when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
I was taught by Ed Wong, who was an art center instructor when I was 12 years old, how to do basic like perspective and visual communication drawing.
How were you friends with him, or how did that all?
Through the grapevine. My mom knew him. She was getting her hair done at like a salon called Biyoshi's. So Japanese, I assume. And Biyoshi knew someone, and they knew how much I drew cars. And so when I was 12, I had an art center instructor teaching me like the basics to try to really get me expedited into that process.
Yeah.
But I was still a kid, so I was like, screw this. I want to go ride BMX bikes and do all this, and and it fell out. And then, 18, 19, I started like, what do I want to do? I'm working structural steel. I'm doing welding, all this stuff, and we were like tinkering around in the garage. And I was always into off-road stuff, but then I was like, I need to go to art center. That's my dream. I want to design cars.
And the off-road stuff, did that start from like did your family do it, or you just did it with friends? Or?
Yeah. So the off-road stuff, I raced dirt bikes when I was younger. I raced desert. So I raced District 37, not like motocross tracks or anything, but like wide open desert. I didn't have a dad. My mom would take me to do all this stuff. We would sleep in the back of her Yukon and have a campfire.
That's rad.
My mom did everything that she could to fill in for my dad. I never had a dad. So I saw like a Ranger marking the course one day, and it had like these big fenders and big tires and like shocks going through the bed. I'm like, what is that thing? Like, that's sick. And that was the one. I was like 15. Boom, that hit me.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, is that like? And it just because the proportions were different. They
Yep.
were like it was a pre-runner, and the proportions were different, and it gave me goosebumps because that's like where it changed. And then I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I remember that I had an XR50 or something when I was 16 or 17, and I looked up a welding shop in the phone book.
Oh.
That's that age check.
I love
I'm
that.
38.
I love that.
I looked up a welding shop in the phone book in Azusa, and then like they referred me to Solo Motorsports, and then I went to Solo Motorsports with Bobby and Carl.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are building these things. Like they were everywhere. There was a shop building pre-runners. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
And I established a relationship there. And then I was just like, you don't realize how inspired you are by things when you're younger until you start to see them being implemented into your life later.
Right. I totally agree. I agree.
That seed being planted.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because like even when I was younger, like I went to the LA Auto Show and I had these pictures. My mom took pictures and she framed stuff and she had photo albums, and I remember I had like
awesome mom.
I had pictures of like a Testarossa at the LA Auto Show, like on my wall, and like Diablos and things.
Oh man!
You know, so like I was balls deep in supercars and cars my whole life, and the pre-runner thing got tapped into, and I started like riding dirt bikes. Kind of just goes hand in hand with desert stuff.
Totally.
I didn't realize I was going to do that as a career ever. I didn't think, like I said, my dream was to be an automotive designer, wear a suit, work at a corporate, do some.
Well, it's probably because that's what you think. That's
the life
what
I
everyone
thought
do.
that was my dream life, And I'm like, cool, we'll be on a team and we'll be corporate and I'm going to show up to this cool, clean building and work. And like now it's interesting how that prevails because there's like a path, right? And I didn't understand any of that until a couple years ago, and I'm like, wow, all this like fell in place.
Right.
And now I have guys that have gone to Art Center or that are current transportation designers, and like they've heard my story, and they're like, as much as you think that that's your dream that you let go or something, you're living the dream. Like you're doing the dream. And that's what it is because my quality of life every day is based on limitless creativity every day.
Love that.
Like I can go to sleep and I can think about projects and I can wake up and I can do exactly what I want, how I want to these projects with clients that want me to be doing that.
Yeah.
And that for like a lot of people, that's a key to life because there's people that can work jobs and they can be and it's probably an easier life to live. To go
100%, right? Yeah.
Work a construction job,
the truth?
Or work at a desk and be good, and like not even think twice and go watch football.
And that works for some people.
What a blessing!
Yeah.
What a blessing! And so for myself, I have to have a sense of purpose and a sense like to be creating.
Yeah.
And so finding an occupation where I can do that is such a huge quality of life for me. And then I can come home and I can be a better person to my kids and my wife and all that. You know? So I don't know where that transitioned into pre-runners and stuff.
Well, but it's your love for creativity like that. Like you said, like you want to do something like that. Like just doing transportation design. And where did that how did that start that you thought you wanted to have this corporate job? And then where's that transition to you not having that?
Yeah, and if this just turns into something where you want me to give you a timeline on like to where I've gotten now.
It goes all over the place, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ride every tangent with you guys.
Cool.
Okay,
Perfect.
I'm signed
We're
up.
squirrels, totally.
Right on. Yeah. Same. So I did the Art Center thing, and it wasn't so much. I'm like transportation designer, car designer. I get to create. I'm going to make big money, and it's all kind of not perfectly accurate. Like maybe a lot of the higher up guys get that, but it's very rare. 2008, 2009 was the big recession stuff. But bottom line is I was not committed to Art Center like I should have been. And I was screwing around. See, I'm going to consciously not say the F word when I want to. I was screwing around and getting screwed up in college.
Well done.
But you see, you get it. You can like fill in the blank right there.
Yeah.
Say it the same. Yeah.
Right.
And I was really screwing up. So.
Well, we might even hear the other word in our mind.
Yeah, exactly. And just it turned into a thing where my parents are like, this is already hard for us. Where you're not on any kind of scholarship, it's hard to get those there.
Sure.
It's a private school. It's a trade school. They're like, you're killing us. You know, like you're missing classes. You're dropping out of classes. Like you're not committed for us to be committed when we're struggling already with everything right now. Yeah. So boom, pulled out. And it wasn't as devastating to me because I was still just in my stuff. And I went back and it falls in place, right? Because 18 and 19, my first real job, I was working structural steel. And it wasn't something where I got right on board and I'm welding and I'm up on a building rigging stuff. No, it was like grinding handrail for weeks.
Okay.
And weeks. Like it was fundamental. Hey man, you want to start? You're going to start and you're going to start there.
Yeah.
And so it turned into like learn how to grind. And I ground and finished handrail, the welds off handrail for probably a month straight every day. And then it turned into learn how to cut stuff with a saw, learn how to operate a forklift, learn how to use a punch, learn how to use the cranes. And then finally, like, you want to tack some stuff together with the welder? I'm like, dude, you guys know, like, I weld in my garage. Like, you know, but you don't get that permission when you're doing that. And so then it turned into, like, just learning. When I look at it now, I'm like, dude, I got streamlined. And I got it from the start. I didn't just jump in and then have to take steps back. And so I stopped that to go to college. And then being out of college, I went, what am I going to do? Oh, I'll go work for my stepdad because he's the guy who runs this shop. I started doing structural steel again, architectural steel again. And I had during college, I had a Gen 1 CTSV. And if we wanted to like do a little car talk there, that's like your OG.
That's what this is about.
I know. But that was your Gen 1. There wasn't a Gen 2 out yet. So it was awesome. It was a manual, you know, it was on coilovers. Like I had it straight piped and it's just a LS6 stick shift, but great 4-door sedan. And I loved that car. And being out of college at some point, I got in a bad crash and totaled that thing out. And I'm like, God, what am I going to get? Boom. I got a C506. It was not as...
It's a Chevy guy.
I noticed this.
I don't care about any of that, honestly.
It's just an ongoing.
You guys are...
We have to instantly get the little, you know.
There's people like that are broken
Vivienne.
like that.
I already know. Vivienne. It's the Ford.
I'm a Ford girl.
Yeah. And I just building what we build, we literally put so many different things in different things. It doesn't.
Yeah. It's
and
like
I'm
little
not
Frankenstein,
cursed.
right?
I'm not cursed by having that, you know.
Yeah, totally.
That character defect.
Vivienne doesn't have the same powertrain, so yes, I understand.
So I got it. It was bang for the buck, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. C5 Z06, great car.
Yeah.
But I realized I'm like, why am I not like I'm not commuting to school anymore? Like, what do I need this little 2-seat car for? And it scraped. Those things scrape so bad. They're overhang on the front. That C5 is like this nose out there, and everything you do. And then when you lower them, like the gas station.
You gotta go for a little bit of stance, and then you gotta go sideways.
Sideways, you're one of those.
Everything you gotta do.
Yeah.
Straight turn,
Nice
out.
and slow.
Yep. And then you'd go in the gas station where the big fills are for the tanks.
Yeah.
That would get your butt. You're like, okay, you know? So it wasn't as efficient. And I'm like, I want to get back in the off-road scene. Like I want to go to the desert again and I don't have money. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I have to I'm going to put this car up. And there used to be a website called whiteboystoys.com. Only true bros know stuff like that.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't know
nice
about
You
that
didn't miss much.
I guess not.
But it was a classifieds. It was a classifieds website, and it was specifically.
I'd like to know who knows about that.
I've talked to.
Nothing.
I've talked to other people. Like this is circa 2010 or 11.
Okay.
That was I put it up, and I put for trade. For trade for 4-seat V8 pre-runner. That's it. Like
nice.
Whatever you got.
Sure.
This truck pops up. This guy wants to trade. I meet him. He's from Vegas. I meet him in Barstow. And we swap vehicles and we both drive each other's thing and we just straight up trade. Like we come back the next week and that's it. Ping for
Love
ping.
it.
And I was nobody's cash out on anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm stoked. All right. And so the thing that happens with me, and I don't buy and sell a lot of stuff, but when I buy vehicles, I'm so in love with them that I don't see what's wrong with them.
Oh.
Like I'm like honeymooned out.
Okay.
You know, like I don't see what's behind the lens.
Okay.
I'm like, this thing's solid, dude. Solid platform, solid front suspension. We're good. And I drove it from San Clemente, where I was living, to Octane Wells on Christmas Eve. And I drove it back. I'm like, that wasn't bad. And we like went out there and drove all night. And then I took it to Glamis, Imperial Sand Dunes for New Year's. And I drove it on the sand for 2.5 days and smashed on it. And through big whoop sections. Glamis is like, for trucks, Glamis, you don't really go through the dunes. You kind of stay on the outskirts of the dunes. And it's like whoop sections. And I ripped it. And I got on the highway all packed up. I'm by myself. And like I said, I never went back on tarmac. I got there and I stayed on the sand.
Okay.
I got on tarmac and I got about 40 miles an hour.
Oh, your teeth are falling out at that point.
Oh, how am I going to get home? There's a death wobble from hell. From hell. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm by myself. I'm like, oh, I was out on an adventure. Cool. Like, I stayed with friends. I'm in Brawley. I bought like huge wrenches from AutoZone for like 3/4 bolts, and I'm just trying to fix stuff. And I got ratchet straps on the steering and all this stuff. I drove that thing home at 30, because the death wobble would come around 40 miles an hour.
Sure.
I drove that thing home
38.
at 38 miles an hour.
Right? The entire way?
The whole way to San Clemente.
Everyone's passing you.
Emergency lights on. Don't look at anyone. Everybody's mad. Just go home.
Right.
So-
but you got home.
Oh, yeah.
And
Eventually.
That's a
What,
big
couple
thing,
days?
though. But that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I got home, and that was the whole point of this is that was a turning point where I asked my stepdad, I go, hey, can I work 410s at your shop. Can I repair my vehicle on my time off?
Cool.
And I took that time, and I call it, like, I rebuilt the whole truck. I rebuilt the suspension. I rebuilt the radius arms. I rebuilt the steering. I rebuilt the rear chassis. I rebuilt the front chassis. I did it all. I did it all out of chromoly. I TIG welded everything. We didn't have a lot of tools. I cut stuff with a grinder and a plasma cutter, and that's it. And I built this huge, like, industrial cart for it, and I would bring it in. I kept it outside,
Yeah.
and so I'd work 410s, like just wearing steel toe boots, doing big dumb steel stuff, and I'd see it out there every day, and I'd like think about it. I'd obsess on it.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Once Friday's over, I'm going to show up here at 7 a.m. What am I going to start on it? And I would attack the thing. And I would attack it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 14, 16-hour days, fully committed every time. And I would like assault it, and boom, and I'd have stuff done, like huge gains every weekend.
Yeah.
And right around then, my buddy Johnny Branch is like a hot rod guy. He builds some bikes, and he's like infamous for his headers and stuff. He's like, do you know what Instagram is? I'm like, nope. I have no clue. And he's like, well, you really like pictures. Because I was like documenting my build on forums, because forums were like your place you go to like look at people's builds and look at pictures. And so I just always have had a thing about documenting stuff from Art Center. That was what they teach you, process book.
Got it.
I started putting stuff on Instagram, and he's like, dude, people will probably really like it. And I started to do that, and I didn't realize like what I was creating because I was so in my zone, and then like that outside influence would come in and be like stoked on it. It wasn't really a lot of constructive criticism or anything. It was like really like, yo, you're going for it on this thing.
Yeah.
This thing's awesome. I found out during that time, my mom had cancer. And I found out we were having a kid at the same time.
Wow.
So I don't know why that one's so tricky right now, but that was part of my story. So like I got that truck, that how important it is for someone to create and build something. That's what I'm getting at is like I didn't stop what I was doing. I just put my head more into that because it was my like outlet, like to just deal with stuff, and just I'd show up and I'd be by myself and I'd be creating. And it established like a really great tool, to do stuff. And once I figured out like we were having a kid and stuff, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to cage it. So then boom, I took another whatever amount of time, and I fully caged this thing. And that vehicle, and I called her Beth, that vehicle was like a pivotal point in my career for building off-road cars. And it was, when I look at it now, it's funny because I call it artistic diarrhea. Like when I look at like the rear chassis and like the plate work and everything, it's like I didn't have anything to build for so long that I like built it. I'm like, and I just, there's a bunch of play work, blah, 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 TIG welds, blah, sick, blah, blah, blah. Like abuse of metal work on this thing. It's nice, but it's like I look at it now and it's in my driveway and I'm like, I remember that. I would not do that again.
Pictures. You will be sharing pictures.
Yeah. And it's functional and cool, but I remember it, there was a lot of weird periods of time there because, I lost my mom to cancer and it was something that truck, like I built it, I finished it, we took it out. It was like, it created this, I literally got myself back into off-road and I got myself back into the desert.
Yeah.
And it like, I didn't even, they say original intentions equal end results. And you don't think about that sometimes. And that was my intention and it did it. And then, I needed to get like steering tie rods bent for this truck, because it was like really thick wall tubing for the steering tie rods. And I hit up this guy named Jamie Campbell. He was down in South County. Like, I don't know right where the toll road, is it the 73?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the 5?
Yeah.
So whatever that is right there, Aliso Viejo maybe. He was there and I, he had like seen my Instagram stuff and I showed up and he goes, dude, when are you going to stop building stupid staircases and ladders and come build cool shit? Like,
but you need like some of that reality check.
and I was like,
sometimes,
what do you mean? He's like, dude, you're good. Like, why don't you come work for me? Like you
Rad.
build all this dumb shit. And I'm like, and he's like a big brother to me, but I was like, geez.
Well, that's definitely the definition of a big brother.
You're right.
And so that's what happened. That was, I had a falling out with my stepdad. And my mom passed away. My mom was in hospice, all this, and that'll do it,
Yeah.
So my stepdad went back to drinking and everything, and we just had time to split up for a bit. And with that, I stopped working for him, and then I hit up Jamie, and I was like, are you serious? And I came down there, and like within 2 weeks, I found myself like constructing rear chassis shock mounts on an F100, and
Cool.
like. And I like remember looking down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get paid to like build cool stuff
That's rad.
and create.
Yeah.
And that was like a pivotal thing.
Yeah.
And I still had my own struggles, but I was able to show up every day and feel purpose and worth.
Yeah.
And build like functional badass machines. And that's what like started leading to the career. And still then I don't think I had to have a crisis. We talked about working at Ryan's shop.
Yeah.
I had to have a crisis to really apply myself to investing in myself in a career.
Yeah.
Do you guys have questions? I feel like I talked your ear off.
No! Baja Forge, signature vehicle builds and off-road products built to forge your own path. Baja Forge was basically made because we loved off-roading. We loved the open roads. If you're looking for off-road products to help you get out on the terrain, visit bajaforge.com. Follow us on Instagram at Baja Forged for our latest builds.
Since 1987, GTS Customs has specialized in resto mod Corvettes. From widened bodies to pro touring vehicles with all today's modern technology. If you've got a Corvette, an old Corvette, and you want to make it drive like something new, contact gtscustoms.com.
We do have questions.
Okay.
You're not talking our ear off.
Okay.
No.
That's the point of it.
No, I think that
The point is to get your story like this. I
Okay.
mean, for you to have moments of you being able to share with what that journey is like, and you being able to share with other people, like the struggles and how you got there, because people think it's this direct straight line.
Yeah.
Right.
It never is.
No.
Right.
There's all these different things that happen,
Life happens,
Yeah,
right?
people telling you these things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And pivotal moments like that. I mean, obviously your mom was a big impact on your life of what that was. And cars, I don't think people realize how much cars can change our lives.
Yeah.
Huge.
Working on them, having them, like we own it in a different way like that. You know what I mean? For all of us, I know we all feel that, but I think other people do in such a different way too. And it gives us these opportunities like this.
Absolutely. And that's like, it's interesting because we're here and I've been here for Autotopia with Vivienne.
Yeah.
And I always used to say, like, when I had my CTSV, I have another one now too, but I always would say that's like my suit. I get in there, and it's not an image thing. It's not a mere materialistic thing.
No.
It's like there's something we're connected to, and I think it's just from we've always used some form of transportation in life. And even if it's with horses, like that's part of you, and that's your thing. And I think you just transition into the cars, and they feel like they're part of you.
It's an extension of your personality.
Totally.
That's how I always, like when I build a vehicle for a customer, I'm looking for what they are and what they embody. Like, of course I'm infusing my style and design in it, but they need to get in it every day and love it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it needs to be about. And that's what you're doing. Yeah. Like, and like you said, you get in this vehicle, it gives you you're like, okay, right now I want to feel a little different driving this.
Right. That's why I think you should always have multiple cars.
100%.
Yeah.
Those are called first world problems,
That was bad.
We all know we spend our money on car things. I mean, that's the point of the show.
Well, that's what's
exactly.
That's what's beautiful about especially like Southern California's car culture. And I don't travel much, but when I travel even within the States, you can notice when there's some culture. You can sniff out the percentages of car culture wherever you go, and then you come back and you're like, oh man, because it's whether it's like stuff you don't even like, it's still culture.
Yeah,
it's still people giving a poop about cars and their characters and their personalities.
I think that it also has something to do with. Within California, we have the climate in which we can explore that because people, our friends in the Midwest, like in Ohio, they're, putting their motorcycles away or they're putting their cars away for the season. And, we're really fortunate. We can hop in I can hop in my car and go to the court,
Well, we have all the different terrains.
Yeah.
So like you can do road,
Yeah.
You have road stuff, you have desert and off-road type stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's all types of different kinds of car culture in this area.
Yeah.
Like I love living in SoCal for that reason.
Yeah.
Like it literally has it's like the mecca of everything automotive. And it happens here first. Like, it goes across the country. Like it's always on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And then it travels across a year or two years later and stuff,
Totally.
For all of that.
Definitely.
So I know. I love it all.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts about
and
SoCal.
And it trickles. That's what you're saying too. Is it trickles? It starts here and then it always trickles in.
It does.
And that's the same thing. I'm kind of affiliated with Terra Crew, which is like an off-road lifestyle brand. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we went to the Midwest for the Midwest Dirt Fest in Michigan, and it's like they come out of the woodwork, for summer and stuff. Cool. And it's like all their pre-runner stuff is like inspired from SoCal. And a lot of the stuff they like, those guys, there's wealthy people there, and they buy stuff used over here, and then they just bring it over there, and they use it, and then just like you said, winter time comes and like prepping the car for winter, and they put that thing away.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the thing, and we don't realize. So how did that go? How was that doing an off-road event like back east like that?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I have for me in life, routine and structure is key because I am full chaos if I don't have like outside routine and structure. Mm-hmm. And I went with a friend, and I just ran with my son, and I was in their rental car, and we were staying in I didn't have any control over things. So my experience
out of your comfort zone
my experience was tainted because I'm like, I'm not going to bed at 11:30 like you guys. I need to wake up when I wake up. Like it was so polar opposite. It was very hard for me to adapt.
Yeah.
But it just, the thing I noticed from over there is the quality of people is, I would say, much better than a lot of people here, especially if you had the same event here with at least the demographic of like a pre-runner style event.
Yeah.
It's all like families, and there's not people really drinking heavy to where they're going to make bad decisions or get in fights or, I think our California mentality is heavy duty on all extremes.
Yeah.
So it was great, and I got to see everything, but it's slowed down over there where there's just families, and there's there's sand dunes. They have Silver Lake sand dunes.
Sure. Well, it's not it's not glamorous. No, I mean everything is like small compared to glamorous.
It's a fraction.
So, yeah.
It's like just a sliver.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful because it's on the lake, and then they have these cottages, and everybody like owns a cottage, and you drive out of there, and it's like a small town vibe.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. I see that, and I'm still grateful to be back here.
Yeah.
I know there's all the BS with California stuff, but like I'm in love with cars,
Yeah.
you know, and that's my passion. So
Yeah.
And the weather. I mean, it's raining today.
Yeah. No, and all the different terrains. Like literally we can do everything. We
Yeah.
can, you know, surf and, you know, ski and off-road.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
do everything within like
Yeah.
3 hours of each
Yep.
other in Southern
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful day still.
Yes, I know.
And I
We're
appreciate the rain.
Yeah, we're so
when
grateful
we
for
do
the
get
rain.
it. I know, that was
for
crazy
sure.
today. I didn't know
Right.
it was going to rain. See, and I'm up, so I live in Johnson Valley. So up there, like completely different than down here.
Yep.
So I come down, I'm like, oh, it's raining today? Dang it. I didn't
Yeah.
even check the weather. It's
Yeah.
all nice up there.
RJ, one of my buddies, RJ, he's up in Hesperia.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if we go to the desert, we go to Johnson Valley or
Yeah.
Lucerne or whatever. And that's where I used to race a lot. So.
Yeah. I mean, and the terrain up there is similar to Baja. I said we get everything. We really literally get everything in Southern California from an extreme terrain like that to you have rocks out there, you have fast desert paced out there. You can go up to, you know, Big Bear for mountain
Yeah.
stuff. So it's everything.
I know.
I like it.
Suck.
Yeah, it doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck.
We're bragging about California a little bit more now.
There will be hate.
I know, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to go home.
That's why we pay for the taxes and everything else that comes along with it here.
This episode is not going to do well in Texas.
We could try to swing it.
So
like
when
that.
you kind of look at, one of the things that pops out in my mind is how making that correlation of younger you now to what you're creating and having that opportunity to look at how that's connected. I mean, that has to be like something that you consider when you're building these vehicles, like, hey, younger me looked at it this way. And
I move pretty fast. And
Okay.
I think for me, it's one of those things where I see stuff in the long run. I don't see it like in right when it's happening, you know, and I don't apply a lot of the, like our pace with how much we get done in that shop it's not something where I can even reflect on old stuff, you know. It's like if it's something I think you file stuff away for design and principles on design, and then you just don't look back, you know, unless something pops up, right? If a car pops up that we've worked on before, and then I look at it and I'll scope that thing out and look at what I'm critiquing on the stuff I don't like always. One of the things I think too to go back to that transition of working for people, because that was part of the looking back.
Oh, yeah.
Is I had struggles forever with design working for other people because I had a way I wanted to do things. And I think for a lot of like fabricators, that's not always a struggle. And then there's some people,
Sure.
and some people are just an ego-based thing where they think that that's an optimal design, and it's really not.
Yeah.
But I had like, it was like through and through. I would work for different guys, and
Yeah.
it was always like, I feel I have a premium idea or design here, and I want to make it this nice. And it was always that same thing. Well, we do it this way, or it's going to cost too much to do this, or it's going to do that, you know.
Yep.
And that was limiting me for everything to excel, you know.
Yeah.
so those people were compromising their integrity of work because of cost.
Well,
basically.
cost or just ego on not wanting to try something
Something
different.
new.
It,
or different.
and it goes back to the same thing. When you're working for someone else, they have their ideas.
Yep.
And that's what
Yeah.
you either choose to
Yeah.
work under them for their ideas. And you can try as much as you want to infuse what it is that you have into that. But yeah, as a creative, yes, I understand that struggle, because it's not always going to, until you're in charge of that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be someone else that's editing it. The final edit is theirs.
Most assuredly lived with somebody like that for most of my life.
this got personal, huh?
But you know what I'm saying? I've witnessed firsthand exactly how things are supposed to, with the Corvettes, how it's
Oh, got it.
all
Okay.
supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, we're talking about Corvettes. Okay,
We're
good.
talking about Greg, not you.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I didn't know if it was like a car thing or a personal.
I took
no, no,
personal.
no.
I went personal
I know,
right off the
too.
bat. Yeah, that was
I know, too.
that was
I was
husband
like,
stuff.
Oh, okay,
It is
okay.
husband
It's
stuff,
a
but
car
it's
thing.
husband car stuff. Oh yeah, I've watched and witnessed him.
And that's
oh
why
my
you learn how to
gosh.
do things on your own
Oh,
too, which
yeah,
you have, because then you're
absolutely.
like, I'm going to do it my way. And that's what you end up doing,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like,
So
I think a lot of the people, like yourself too, that have those struggles, all the really good guys, I think, with fabrication and like guys that are excelling, they end up on their own no matter what.
Sure.
Yeah.
And even with having employees, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like I have Colin, and Colin's like, my wife says that's the shining star. That's our shining
Yeah.
star. And he's excelled. Like he gets it. He like now we're on this length. He just starts walking to me, and I know he needs something, and
Yep.
and I can lay stuff out, and I can do the roughest stuff, and he understands it.
Cool.
And we speak the same language
Yeah.
now. But even then, I still know like he's too good
Sure.
to be just at some point.
Yeah.
You have and you just accept
To
it.
let him
yeah,
go.
you
They're
give him
gonna
his
go.
wings and he flies.
And that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I think that's how
Yeah.
every person that like is just moving like that is going to go.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
it turns into just a personal thing. And,
Yeah.
and I just know that no matter what, I'm my own brand, and and if I have guys coming in to help, then I appreciate that experience. But no matter what, it's just fall back on myself.
Yeah. And I think like following your Instagram and stuff, what I really appreciate is your like vulnerability and your rawness with like sharing like your story, you know, along the way, because it's that people don't get that like all this shit is hard for all of us, you know? And so, what you're going through and stuff and working for other people and how that's gone, or where you can even reflect back and be like, okay, like I kind of understand where they were coming from now or something.
Big time.
And things like that. So
I think that's true. And I say, I'm in recovery. I've had alcoholism and addiction issues, and that's why I tell people, and I don't like just say that all the time because I don't want to preach that.
Yeah.
But what I preach is that I'm on a second life. And what I mean by that is like I am awakened to, I'm like blessed to be able to live a second life. Like I have a second chance at life. And that's where I love to share, because everything, I'm so grateful for everything. And like I feel like in I know it's not just in the off-road industry, but in a lot of like these industries where there's builders and fabricators, there's so many insecurities.
Sure.
And everybody's sensitive. And
Sure.
nobody's taking care of themselves, and their mental state's all messed up. And it's something where like I don't have that. At least I work on myself, and I'm aware enough. I'm not saying I don't have that, but just I can see a lot of that. And I would rather be someone that can lead and share.
Yeah.
Because that's important. Because it's a better way to live like that. I don't
Agreed.
have that stuff where you're talking, you're consumed by bad energy and judgment, and not sharing your trade, or it just I don't think that's the way.
One of the best things, I mean, and she helps me, like we have a nonprofit, Real Deal Revolution, and teaching skilled trades is like one of the best things I can give to someone else is for them to say they did something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not for me to do it for them, for them to be like, oh my God, I built this. And you're like, exactly.
Exactly.
Like,
And
I want
they're
you.
feeling that feeling.
Yes. And that is an amazing thing that you can give to others. And like you said, like sharing that. People are so like, I learned the same way. Like that my dad was, like, oh, we don't want other people to know our secrets and stuff, like all these things. And you're like, wait, what? Why? What?
I
What are
know.
these secrets? And that's how that mentality
That's an
was.
insecurity.
Well,
That's how that is.
Yeah, exactly.
that generation of people
Yes.
as well. So and then we were talking about this earlier, but when you have an opportunity to talk about it, it kind of breaks down the walls and the barriers between people to understand that at the elemental level, we're still all pretty much just the same.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's the target there, is that everybody is a human. you
Yeah.
know? And that's the whole thing. It's like, even if we're doing premium work and top tier of what we're doing, I still would like to be grounded to the point. And that's what I've told people. Like there's some reels I filmed where I don't mean to even go super deep into my life, and then I do.
Yeah.
And how I feel from sharing that
Yeah.
is the same as I would feel completing something with my hands.
Yeah.
And it's the same, like anytime I'm able to teach something or share something, like some of our YouTube, I have this thing called the Fab Diaries, and it's just like vlog style of running through like doing a roof scoop on a truggy or whatever. And I'm like just talking like one-on-one, like I'm talking to you or talking to you. Like, and that like when I go places, people come up and it doesn't even look like it has a lot of reach on YouTube. And then people come up to me and they're like, dude, when are the Fab Diaries coming? Like, I love that, blah, blah. Like I learned how to do this. Like you taught me this. And that fulfills me the same way as creating something.
That's awesome.
It's the same. It's like the
I totally
same
agree.
bucket.
Yep.
It's creating the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Like,
that's pretty much
because
what we
you
all
know
want.
how excited you get, and you know that feeling you get, and you're like, someone else gets that now.
Yeah.
Someone else is feeling that, and like other people like understand that, and it's hard. It's probably hard to describe to other people in general just what you get out of it, and and then as soon as they have that, you're like, you get me.
Yeah.
Like it's different.
And it's just the sharing in general and teaching. Like I
Yeah.
that feels good. And I remember working like at a couple shops and one guy in particular, I remember nobody ever taught me. So I like learned everything the hard way. And that's something I always preach is like, I learned the hard way. I'll screw something up. It doesn't matter what level of life. I'm going to screw it up and then I'm going to get it and then I'll do it good.
Yeah.
But it's always the hard
Yeah.
way. And it's the same with every single step of fabrication and like motorsports fabrication. I remember there used to be a guy, and we won't say his name, but Mike Pram, and he would like consciously know what I'm doing and I'm struggling, and he'd walk by and he would, and like
not say anything.
Once again, tailoring back to like not seeing what's happening right then. Now I look at him like, that asshole. Like, you knew I was struggling, and you're like, what's taking so long, dude? What's happening? And I'm like, and now that I've learned these things, and I'm like, you could have helped me. Like you and I see, and it's that same mentality that I'm talking about, that there's people have this thing where they don't want to help and they don't want to share because they're so insecure, or they're not like, they're not mentally grounded themselves to the point where they feel like sharing, and they're like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to help this other person. I'm good. I'm secure with my job and my position. Yeah. That's not a threat. I'm just going to help and share.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. So it's like, I love that part where I can expedite all my tips and helpful information to everybody.
Yeah.
Just to help them along. Because if it's someone that's like inspired, just like I was, if I saw a pre-runner, you know, where I went to Solo Motorsports when I was 16 and I see this sick firewall with all these bead rolls in it and like all this crazy plate work, and I can't even digest it. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Now it's like, well, can't I just help that kid when he's 16? I can help him now. Like, you want to do that? Here's how you do it. Boom. Yeah. And you give that to him.
Yeah.
You know, and that, there's something you get from that.
Yeah.
Like there's enough to go around. I don't teach design.
100%.
You know?
Just
because you're doing well.
I know. Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not going to do well.
Yeah.
If you're helping me.
Totally.
Yeah. It's so strange.
There's enough for all of us, and that's what people don't get is gosh, there's people everywhere, and we all have different communities.
Yeah.
You know, like there's certain people that like the things that you do, or you or me. Like it's not all the same, and everyone's it's not. I don't know. It's not a competition. It's like, how can we bring everyone else up? I get excited because it's like the same thing. It's like, I guess I get excited about the innovation that someone else brings to the table, because then you just have to be like, dang, I got to get my game up too now.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a positive competitive.
Exactly.
It's that feeding off of one another.
But
to
it's
see
good
how
because you're
high
like,
you can raise
damn,
that
that's
bar.
good. Like
the other angle is if there's more people, like, and obviously you guys, I'm more of the off-road desert motorsports guy. It won't be like that forever, but at least even in my industry, if there's more eyes, if there's more people building that stuff, you don't go, oh, there's another guy in town. You go, awesome, because if there's more eyes looking at you, that means it's in general going to grow the industry and grow the niche, and then it's just more business for everybody.
Yeah. Totally.
You know,
it's a
win-win like that. Yeah. And it's like that, like with Roadster Shop or anything, they're huge people, and you go, how am I ever gonna 3D print Iconol stuff? And how am I gonna do all these billet and this composite? But it doesn't matter, because it's just more reach and more grounds for more business.
Yeah. When people say like, oh, but they copied your design, I'm like, actually, if there's better design in the world, that's a good thing. Yeah. So it gets rid of all the bad design. So I'm okay with that.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think too, the other thing, there's just more good out there, and it gets people excited. I don't know.
There's only
I
certain
say-
people that like to do that like us. Huh? Like give that to the rest. But yes, hopefully we infuse that with everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Definitely.
Oh, I almost got that thing.
What
There
was
is
that?
a little bug
Is
flying
it?
around.
Looks like,
And I'm like,
No, it's just a little piece of lint or something.
little lint.
I wouldn't have grabbed for a bug. I'd be like,
is that like the
For the snaps.
like what's happening?
Oh my gosh.
but you know, I agree with that stuff, and it's the same thing. Like I've seen stuff where we do, like, I prize myself in our shop with design.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, like, that's why I said, I slipped in and I said, I don't teach design, because
Yeah.
that's the win I always like feel like we retain. And that's the natural thing, like the teaching
Right.
and everything. Like fabrication in general is just a skill set, and it's not a talent. I don't want to upset anybody, but like learning all of these things, even the highest caliber of welding and the highest caliber of sheet metal or metal shaping, it's not a talent. It is an acquired trade and a skill.
Yeah.
The talent is how easy someone picks that up and how efficiently and quickly they can do it.
Yeah.
That's the talent.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like anybody
it's
can
applied, yeah.
anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It just might take a lot of time or
Yeah.
something, or repetition or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with design. That's the one thing where I see people doing stuff, but I always can tell design, and I'm like, oh, you could have done that. Oh, you could have done that. Oh, you couldn't have done that. Good, cool, keep doing that. You know, because that's where my security blanket is always. You know, and that's from all the background, and that's from the history of you know, Art Center and being inspired when I was younger so much into World War II aircraft and
Cool. Yeah.
you know, like a lot of aircraft like that, and just all 90s cars. You know, and I don't mean like ugly tourists. Eggs with dents and things on the side. There was the egg.
Well, which
Oh,
ones
yeah.
do you mean then?
Oh, yeah.
All supercars and things.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
That was
I
funny.
think you guys just did a review on one of those on Impact.
Which car?
An ugly,
A Taurus?
an ugly car.
SHO.
Yeah.
It's the one from Mighty Ducks where Michael J. Fox is drunk in that thing.
Yeah, it was that EV.
Oh, that was an ugly bucket. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very,
That was
Yeah.
the like covered
Oh, how-
rear fender openings, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Will you come back and visit us again?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna bring the Truggy down here because I don't like to say I live in Sun Valley. I'd rather say Latuna Canyon. You know.
Okay.
So Sun Valley, there's like people on their face on the curb and stuff. And see, now we're talking about California.
I was gonna
Right?
say,
Here we
wait,
go.
That's basically all of California
Yeah.
these days.
There's motorhomes that are not supposed to be on the street.
So you literally live right down the street. This is pretty close
Similar,
for you.
yeah. That's what I said. I was getting
Yeah.
dragged on the way in here on the Sunland, but I was gonna bring the Truggy down here just to show it. And to give you like a ride on the street. And that thing,
Oh.
but it
Well, we'll
didn't
have to-
work out as
Darn
many.
it.
Yeah. No, I'd love to come back on and
Next
maybe
time.
we can
Cool.
touch.
I would love that.
I think the only thing I want to like mention to establish is that I'm going to build a hot rod. So
Sweet.
Okay.
Love
I'm
it.
going to
Cool.
start.
Anything
like,
in particular?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you have to look at is that Beth. I don't know how much time we have, so I'll try not to string you guys out. Beth, my super crew, that was like my. When you look at it
Oh, is
now,
that what you had?
now I know what.
Okay, you're
what
back to the
works.
Fords. I like this.
Well, I don't mind that part. What I'm getting at is we created. I didn't know what I was doing. I created something, and then it catapulted me into like a market and an industry.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to deal with a client, and I don't want to deal with constraints of what someone else wants
and
to
you want
do.
to put your design
And
into
so I
it.
have to make an extreme sacrifice again.
Yeah.
The way to do that is I work with all my vendors. I say, hey, you guys, I've never cashed in my chips on stuff. Or I say, I need your help.
Sure.
I don't have the money for this. What can you do to help me? I'll promote your product. And then I just own all the labor.
Yeah.
And I just do it. But what I'd like to do is I would like to do, I think, a 66 Lincoln Continental, but not a slab.
Well, you said a hot rod, so
I want to narrow the cab.
yeah. I'm like,
first.
that's way different.
And then I
because
want to make a
that's-
full tube chassis, like GT style car out of it. Road going GT car style. So like, there's a couple guys like Riley Motorsport that has a really nasty white Firebird that's
Okay,
up by
I'll look it
Sonoma.
up. Okay.
There's Horizon Motorsports that had that gray Firebird that was at SEMA. I don't know if you guys saw that. These cars are extreme examples of like track cars.
Okay.
Big square tire, slicks, monolug things, inboard shocks, all kinds of aero. And I want to take the Lincoln and I want to just, this is like me talking about what I'm going to do. And then if we have another conversation where I sit here and I have this Lincoln, I promise
Oh,
you,
yeah.
this is my thing.
Yeah.
And I don't I know Lincolns are almost, I don't want to say played out because I'm sure people will get butthurt with that, but it's the same thing. It looks like a 10-inch 2x4 that's a slab, and it's
Right.
cool. There was one at SEMA that was like kind of drag card out. It was like black with red interior, and it had some good fabrication. It had parachutes on the back.
Okay.
Wasn't that across from our booth?
It was next to
Was
Vivienne.
it?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, it was
yeah.
across from our.
word.
We just missed each other.
Yeah, and so what I'd like to do is I'd like to right off the bat change the shapes of that car, narrow the cab.
Okay.
So 4 like containment Sparco seats, but your shoulder bolstering
Okay.
is touching.
Oh yeah, you could probably fit
So
5
if
people
you-
in that car.
Well, you wouldn't. You'd fit 4 because it's
No,
going to
yeah.
get tight.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, right, if you look at that thing from the top view and you narrow the cab, but
Yeah.
you don't adjust anything else, already you have like these haunches like a Coke bottle.
Oh.
And then
Dude, it's all about curves.
Well, it's shape change, and dimension and proportion. And so that
Proportion, yes.
plus extending the track width a little bit, and then it's all tube chassis and it turns into this wide body, right? And the wide body is like an ALMS car, like an American Le Mans car, like an old Pratt,
Yeah, sure.
like a C6R or something,
Yeah.
where it's got nasty downforce and aero, and there's a lot of stuff where you can see tires through some of the body panels,
Yeah.
some kind of nasty aero work, big splitters, and I think putting like an absolute hardcore version of that into a Lincoln Continental would be amazing, because there's nothing like that.
Yeah,
And that would be my ticket where I go, look, here we go.
Yeah.
That's
Here I
my
am,
example.
world.
And
Yeah.
what I'll
Love
do
it.
is I'll just apply every bit of how we fabricate our off-road trucks and all of our high-end luxury pre-runners. We'll apply all that design characteristic and how we actually physically fabricate into that car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where it's exciting to me. And it'll be a big block Ford, so a 460. Same kind of as Vicious with a twin turbo plus a supercharger,
Sweet.
and then sequential.
Yeah.
So that's like the thing, and big square tire, monolug flat face wheel. So
Go
that's-
fast, go straight.
And I have it in my driveway. So
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have
Nice.
the example of the car, collecting rust. So I don't have this thing built, but I have at least the platform to do it on right now.
Love it.
It's amazing.
So that's
awesome.
it. I'll come
Okay.
back with that.
I love it. That was a great way to end
See you
that.
here in
with
a
that.
year.
Good
know,
luck. Good luck.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Thanks, Morgan, for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
That was great.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Thank you guys.
How can people find you?
Perfect. Thank you.
I think just Instagram is my most active platform, at Morgan Clarke Design 1. Clarke is with an E, like the phone book. You know what I'm saying? Boom.
For some of you out
Look
there
that
knows
one
what
up.
that is.
Yeah. So Morgan Clarke Design 1 or MCD 1. Same with our YouTube. That's pretty much it. So,
Cool.
Yeah, it works. And
Awesome.
We'll check back in.
That was
Love
fantastic.
it.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
That was really good. So, thank you everyone for watching. This is High Octane Hustle. Like, subscribe, follow, all the above, whatever, on all the channels. And all the things.
Thank you guys.
All the things. I'm Fastlane Jane.
I'm Design Muse, and this was
Morgan Clarke.